This video provides a comprehensive and enlightening guide to enhance your understanding of the intricate art of grafting in horticultural crops. Subscribe to this channel for instant notifications on new video releases. Grafting is the art of joining parts from two or more plants so that they appear to grow as a single plant. The upper part of the graft, known as the scion, becomes the top of the plant, and the lower portion of the graft called the rootstock or understock or stalk becomes the root system. If a third plant part is added, it is referred as interstalk and becomes trunk or portion of it. Grafting is practiced in horticulture for propagation, repair of plant parts, and rejuvenation of senile orchards. Grafting involves the union of stalk and scion through the formation of a graft union. Successful graft union formation involves a series of steps with lining up of vascular cambium, generation of a wound healing response, callus bridge formation, followed by vascular cambium formation and subsequent formation of the secondary xylem and phloem. Grafting is more successful in eudicoats because they possess a ring-shaped vascular cambium, facilitating the establishment of a graft union. Rootstocks can be categorized as either seedling rootstock or clonal rootstock. Seedling rootstocks are derived from seeds, and clonal rootstocks are obtained from vegetative propagation methods such as cuttings, layering, or tissue culture. Scion preparation involves precuring, wherein leaf blades are clipped off, leaving the petiole, typically 8 to 10 days prior to grafting. Interstock is employed when the rootstock and scion are incompatible, a process referred to as double working. Propagation through grafting can be categorized into techniques where the scion remains attached and those where the scion is detached. Approach grafting is also known as enarching. In this method, rootstock grown in pot are brought near to base of tree from which scion is used. A thin slice of bark and wood is removed from rootstock as well as scion by a grafting knife. Then the cut surfaces are joined with a polythene strip. After about a month, the scion below the graft union and stalk above the graft union are given a V-shaped cut. Once graft union is formed, the top of rootstock is completely removed and scion is completely detached from tree. Epicautal grafting is otherwise known as stone grafting. It is performed in mango. 10 to 15 days old mango seedlings are lifted along with stones. The seedling stems are headed back, leaving 6 to 8 centimeters long stem. A 3 to 4.5 centimeters longitudinal cut is made into middle of the cut stem. A wedge-shaped cut is made on both sides of the proximal end of the scion. Then the scion is inserted into the cleft of the seedling and tied with polythene strip. In softwood grafting, the rootstock, aged between 2 to 5 months, is headed back at a height of 6 to 15 centimeters and is split in the middle using a grafting knife. The scion, aged 4 to 5 months, is prepared with a wedge-shaped cut on both sides of its proximal end. Subsequently, the scion is inserted into the split of the rootstock and secured using a polythene strip. In wedge grafting, 6 to 12 months old rootstock is headed back and split in the middle. The 4 to 5 months old scion is prepared with a wedge-shaped cut on both the sides of its proximal end. Then the scion is inserted into the split of the stalk and the cut surfaces are joined with polythene strip. In saddle grafting, distal end of rootstock is prepared in the form of wedge by a transverse cut and two diagonal upward cuts on either side. The proximal end of scion is prepared in the form of saddle by a transverse cut and split in the middle. Then scion is inserted into rootstock and secured with polythene strip. Whip grafting is also known as splice grafting. In this method, a slanting cut of the same length is made in both the rootstock and scion, and the cut surfaces are joined with a polythene strip. In whip and tongue grafting, a slanting cut of the same length is made in both the rootstock and scion. In rootstock, a second downward cut is made starting 1/3 of the distance from the tip to the base of the first cut. In the scion, a second downward cut is made starting 1/3 of the distance from the bottom to the tip of the first cut. The rootstock and scion are firmly secured by a polythene strip. In cleft grafting, the trunk of a small tree or branches of large trees are sawed off to serve as a stalk for scions. Using a sturdy knife, often accompanied by a mallet, the stalk is carefully split down the middle. A wedge is then employed to keep the split open, facilitating the insertion of scions. The proximal end of each scion is shaped into a wedge, and two scions are inserted into the stalk, one at each end of the split. Finally, the grafted area is sealed with melted grafting wax. Inside grafting, a long sloping cut is made on the side of the rootstock. The proximal end of the scion is prepared in the form of wedge with one side slightly longer the other side. Finally, the scion is inserted into the side of rootstock and secured with plastic strip. In veneer grafting, a downward and inward cut is made on stalk, and at the base of the cut, a small shorter cut is given to intersect the first so as to remove a piece of wood and bark. At the proximal end of the scion, a long slanting cut on one side and a small short cut on the other are made so as to match the cuts of the stalk. The scion is then carefully inserted into the prepared stalk, and the entire graft is securely bound together using a polythene strip. In bark grafting, two vertical cuts about the width of the scion are made on bark of the stalk, and a flap of bark is lifted. A long slanting cut is made on the scion on one side and a shorter cut on the opposite side. The scion is inserted beneath the lifted bark. Two nails are driven, one through the scion and other through the flap of bark. The grafted area is then thoroughly waxed. Wounded plant parts can be repaired by bridge grafting, and weak branches can be supported by buttress grafting. Bridge grafting is performed when bark of the tree is damaged by rodents. The damaged bark is trimmed to an even cut. Scion is prepared by making wedge-shaped cuts on both the ends. Two vertical incisions, each approximately the width of the scion, are made on the bark of the stalk, one on the upper edge and another on the lower edge of the wound. Distal end of the scion is pushed beneath the upper flap of bark and proximal end of scion beneath the lower flap of bark. The scion is inserted every 3 to 4 inches all the way around the wound. The graft area is then thoroughly waxed. Buttress grafting reinforces vulnerable branches at risk of breakage or with weak crotches. It involves grafting a slender branch, about the thickness of a pencil or slightly larger, onto the targeted branch for support, positioned approximately 30 centimeters or more above the weak crotch. The unproductive old and senile orchard is made productive by top working with softwood grafting, side grafting, veneer grafting, cleft grafting and bark grafting.